Welcome everyone, Dr. Thor here. Get ready for Gnosis. Well, here is a recent acquisition of mine, probably my last here, but I keep saying that, but I have way too much equipment. I'm going to be selling a lot of it off, but I particularly got these because these are original. This is an original Delawarr. It's one of the last units that Delawarr made. And let's show you right at the bottom there. You can see that's Series 5380. I can't find my actual measure, but it's about 10 inches by 8 inches. So it's a pretty small unit. It's not very large. Let's see if I can put it next to something that you can identify. Here's a little kind of penny thing, but it's a little longer than your average pen. But it gives you a little bit of scale here. Do you have anything else of scale? But that'll have to do. Okay, so with that, keeping that in mind here, it's a very small unit. It's very light. You got to remember there's virtually nothing in here. I'm going to be taking this apart and showing you the guts of it, or at least I'll do that for our Force Energy Physics Institute people, where you join and get to see all the units I've taken apart, from the SE5 to the Orgonite units. All that you can see online there for a yearly cost, and lots of other free rare publications. And we talk about how to make things. There's so many things there that you get with your low-cost yearly membership. Or if you want to, you can get all access, which means you can access everything on the site for one yearly low cost. And of course, everybody should be a member of Patreon, where you get all your news from. If you want to know what's happening with the organization, of really what's going on, we have very little up on YouTube anymore. You go there and you get your weekly updates and all the extra free stuff we give out there. So it's really a deal. And that's only $6 a month, and you get all access. It's a great deal. It's a great way to really make a statement out there that you really are working with the good guys, and that you want to support the people who are achieving things, and have for the last 40 years, as I am the expert in this field. Author of over 35 books, 5 courses, been on the BBC, CNN, the Art Bell Show, and the list goes on. The first person to ever and the only person to ever open and own a radionic retail store, and had that for 3 years. And I engineered and designed and tested and manufactured radionic units now for over 40 years. The first person to introduce metaphysical radionics in the late 80s, 90s, was the first one to do it, the first one to publish that based on the designs of popular metaphysical authors of that time. So we were the first ones to do that. Of course, there were radionic units before that, but nobody was really doing anything in the metaphysical area. So we were the first ones to do that and have a store and everything else. So you have to understand who you're talking to here and what kind of organization, because you haven't heard of it, of myself or this organization, is because you haven't tried very hard, and the people out there are suppressing someone that knows something. Oh, is that a surprise? Woo-hoo. So the whole idea is that that's the reality of it. Now, to show this unit a little, and of course there are several things here, and of course when we made units originally, we had a ground wire as well. You got to remember that there's nothing in here electronic to speak of, and as I said, you'll see what's actually in there when we take this apart for those special members. So you have your, and this is something that Delawarr like to have. Usually it's the last dial, but this is a power dial, 1 to 100. Most of them, you still call this a base 10 unit, because they're in tens, 0 to 10. And of course, these are the easiest to tune because you have that type of rates there. And this, of course, is a 12 dial. And of course, this is what the Radionic Association picked up later and copied. It has a stainless steel plate here as well. A lot of people like to use that. I'm not a big fan of it. We'll see if that stays, because I'm going to redo these units with the upgraded wiring. I'm going to leave the old wiring, but we're going to put in my very well-researched and powerful scalar wiring, which picks up scalar energies. Well, this is really only picking up the electromagnetic. So this also is a power dial at the top. So this is basically your in plate. Your out plate would be plugging into here, which didn't come with the unit if you're going to use it in that primitive fashion. But when I redo this, it's going to be quite different and, of course, much more powerful. So it's nice to, these are brand new. These are actually found in, of all places, Denmark, that a woman had them up in storage for 30, 40 years, maybe longer. And they just popped up recently, and I just saw these. It's kind of fun. Let's look at it. It's got one of these. I don't know what you call this. Is that really wood here? Probably is wood. They generally tend to put vinyl material on there, kind of a plastically imitation leather. This is particle board. And as I said, we'll be opening these up, and those who are Patreon members and those that are part of the Force Energy Physics Institute, the scalar energy, will be able to see what's inside of them. We can see, just to show you the comparison of the unit that the Radionic Association, I have a whole bunch of I have a video on this where I went over this carefully and talked about it, etc. Get this back enough. This is fairly long. I don't know. It's probably 18 inches by 12 inches. It's got that. Again, you can see how they have copied the other one. Here's your 0 to 100 dial, just like I just showed you. But they're giving you that as an extra dial, which is generally how it was seen now. This is a power dial. And, of course, there was another power dial on the top of that other unit. And one of the nice things about this unit is that you use it standing on its side like this, which is easier to tune. And you have the actual power dial. You have your basically your in plate, your witness plate. There. Now this has your witness plates, which are copper. I'm assuming this is pure copper. This is a pretty poorly made unit in the bigger picture. The dials are cheap. I don't know how thick this is. I'm assuming this may be just copper sheet and not really a nice thick plate if you're going to use that stuff. It is non-electric. Now, both of these units are non-electric. Now, what they've left off on this is the fact that they don't have a grounding. Now, if you're going to be using the electromagnetic, and you got to remember that radionic units are almost identical to crystal radios. And I think that was a big part of the original design of them, particularly the ones that Ruth Drown started making. You got to remember, it's not the British who made these. Ruth Drown went over to England and taught Delawarr. I don't know how many people know that. Being persecuted in the U.S., she went over to England and found people that wanted to follow her and build her instruments, and that was Delawarr. So very, very interesting. I don't think too many people know that. But Ruth Drown worked in a radio factory for many years, or at least during the war. So she had a very electrical background and understood the flow of electromagnetics. The problem is that that is only a small aspect of what we're talking about here. And most of this stuff is not electromagnetic that is being used today. Certainly, since this doesn't plug in, how could it possibly be electromagnetic? But as I said, this is built pretty poorly. You've got these ugly screws everywhere that stick out. These are cheapy dials. And, of course, none of these, just like with this, none of these are actually numbered. So these aren't numbered either. Where is number 1 on here? Well, you can say, well, probably obviously we do everything left to right. You probably think is there. But the bottom line is, are they going down or are they going across? So is it across and then here, or is it cross down? So the whole idea is that's why you always number dials, so you don't have that problem. Anytime you start doing that, this is a plexiglass box, which I guess is easy to make. Basically, you can cut plexiglass and do that instead of going out and getting yourself a nice wood case that looks much more attractive and basically is more color. This is nothing but a whole bunch of plastic. This is just this is not printed on. I believe it's a sticker that is placed over the top. So, I mean, for a unit like this built by a professional association that sells for about $700, this isn't very much of a unit. And of course, as I said, we'll be opening up this as well so you can look inside of it eventually, and we'll see exactly what's in there. But it doesn't plug in, and it has the missing ground. Now, if you're going to have a crystal type radio, and I don't know how many people know about crystal radios or not, but they don't run on electric. They're able to pick signals up out of the space, so to speak. They're able to do that through using some electric. So you can actually pick up frequencies without using electric to do it. You use special types of stones and so forth that you put in there, special stones that pick up frequencies. There's a whole bunch of stuff, and of course you use coils that you tune. A big coil is in most crystal radios, but radionic devices are basically crystal radio machines that have been modified. And of course, again, I'm sure that Ruth Drown had that particular understanding as well, working in radio factories or whatever she was making. It's always hard to find out what is going on there. But quite fascinating as we get through all of this and understand the bigger picture, and that we can know what's going on. But if you don't understand the energy you're using, how can you possibly make a machine to work on that? So it's like putting an engine in an automobile, and well, we don't know how the engine works. What do you mean? It has to be internal combustion or electric. So it's very important that you know that, and people just don't. So again, all this stuff is kind of a mystery in terms of how these things work, but it is a psychic consciousness connection that makes all this stuff work. And Delawarr stated that when he was taken to court, because he did get into problems, as most healers do, and stated that this was strictly a psychic procedure, that nothing else was going on there. And he's 100% right. This is a scalar energy field, a vibrational energy. And we're talking about a non-electromagnetic field, and that's what it is. So it's as simple as that. And this can be used for anything. So we're experimenting with rainmaking right now, but you can use it for anything. And of course, for many years, I specialized in metaphysical fields of using this stuff for. So prosperity, protection, all of those spiritual type things. And of course, we're moving now into vibrational or energetic homeopathy as well. So this is all part of the same cup of tea, so to speak. But what a fascinating tool. It's rare that you're ever going to see something. If you're a radionic person, you'll never see a unit like this ever again. And certainly it's another wonderful thing to happen. But few people seem to be interested or want to support organizations that do this because of the crumbs that are out there. Remember, don't trust anybody. The only valid equipment out there is the one I make. Everybody else are really producing demon onyx, which is a very polluted, terrible technology, which was put together by Carl Weltz before his death. And it continues to be perpetrated today with this fraudulent orgonite, and that goes with it. Orgone is fascinating by Wilhelm Reich, but that's not what these people made. They made sewertronics, demontronics. They were all Satanists. They continue to be these people, and that's what the industry is all about. You need to wake up and support the people who are really doing the good work instead of supporting so many other people out there. And there is no one else but me. Every single one of them out there, except myself, have been linked directly or indirectly to criminal satanic activities. Just the way it is, people. Wake up and do something instead of complain. Until next time.